Hey, 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 happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. Tonight is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. This is the live stream 663. If it's your first time joining me, I spend about half of the show sharing the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then the second half of the show, I will normally devote to taking a first look at a board game or role-playing game, miniatures, rules, what have you. If it's something that's being played on the tabletop, it is fair game for us to be taking a look at. So tonight, I am going to be paging through, taking a first look at Call of Cthulhu Horror on the Orient Express from Chaosium Inc. This is the 2-volume set. It's pretty big, folks. And as you can tell, this is certainly going to be a first look because it's still in the shrink. Although I have to admit, I had somebody one time tell me, well, they emailed and they said that I no doubt had a shrink wrap machine because when I would do my unboxings and take a guess at some different things about a game, I was too close to the money. So I must have read the rules first and re-shrink wrap the game. No, that was not the case. I can sometimes be fairly good at guessing what a game's mechanics are, and I am just as likely to be completely off base. Anyway, for those of you out there who have never watched before, put your feet up, kick back, relax. I'm not talking about performing rocket surgery here. We're talking about tabletop gaming. And those of you out there who watch all the time, thank you very much for once again joining me. Always appreciated, most certainly. If you like this video, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live, Monday through Thursday nights, right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my review of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Death on the Reich from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. And if you're interested in winning one of 2 PDF copies of this adventure book, check out the review. I tell you how to get into the running, and I make it very easy to jump on board. Also should point out that you can also win this copy of the alternate art cover for Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft for Dungeons & Dragons from Wizards of the Coast by checking out my first look video for this. So I'm giving this away, this physical copy right here, as well as 2 PDFs of Death on the Reich. So, and I will cheat, and I will say, yes, Death on the Reich. There is a reason why The Enemy Within is thought by many to be one of the best fantasy role-playing game campaigns ever. Really, really good. I will be reviewing the companion very soon. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, please visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Finally, this is a live stream, so that means chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. So looks like we got a lot of folks flashing past here. So Nicholas Stanishek was first out the gate tonight saying hello. Flaming Huron is here in chat. The Madman, yes, the Motor City Madman is with us as well. So both of our chat moderators, Flaming Huron and the Madman, are with us. So Indigo Dragon is joining us tonight. Beat Cafe is here. Kevin R. Smith, Disavowed 92. Jesse Lowley, who this is a first-time visit from Jesse. Welcome aboard. Make yourself comfortable. Is with us as well. So chat is off and running. So let's see. So Flaming Hero says, some people got way too much time on their hands if they think I am re-shrink wrapping stuff. I know. If I sold a lot of stuff on eBay, maybe I would own something like that, but I don't know. So anyway, so Jesse says, howdy from Oklahoma. Well, howdy from the Chicago suburbs. Welcome aboard. Hope you enjoy the stream. So Indigo Dragon's like, hi, all first-timers. Yeah, we had some first-timers yesterday when we were taking a look at Reign of Terror for Call of Cthulhu. And we had some first-timers on Thursday's stream because we were taking that first look at Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls. And we actually had some folks who are affiliated with Tunnels and Trolls hanging out in chat with us. It was very cool. We had Liz Danforth, who is one of the developers as well as one of the main artists for Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls, and actually all Tunnels and Trolls. So that was very cool. Very cool. And she tweeted that she had a really good time hanging out in chat and she liked the show. So very nice. Very cool. All right. So we're going to be taking a look at Horror on the Orient Express. It is a huge 2-volume set. So I'm going to do a little less news than normal tonight. I apologize. I've got like cat hair like right on the edge of my nose. It's like, I think I got it now. It's like I'm sitting there like trying to talk and it's distracting me to no end. Live streams, gotta love them, right? All right, anyway, but I do have some news. So we're going to jump in because coming in the third quarter of this year is Dogs Bond from designer Alex Liu. And it looks like it's a fun family game. Here's the skinny. As rescue dogs, players collect the sets of attributes they need to find their way to one of 6 available forever homes. This 2 to 6 player game asks players to make their best choices based on the paw they are dealt, offering a wide variety of choices and combinations that change every game to provide gameplay based on both strategy and luck. Each turn consists of drawing an event card, then drawing and playing appropriate attribute cards to build out your dog's, you guessed it, attributes, grooming, obedience, temperament, and health to meet requirements set by each adopter. You can play for one adopter or many, and they all have different ideas about what makes the perfect dog. Dogs Bond is for, once again, 2 to 6 players. It's for ages 10 and up. Plays in about 45 to 60 minutes. It is going to carry an MSRP of $30 when it arrives this summer. Very nice, very nice. Like the artwork. This could be a fun game to play with the family because you're playing as dogs looking to be adopted, rescue dogs. So very cool. This is actually coming from the designer himself. It is being self-published. So if you go to dogsbondgame.com, you can place your order. I don't know how available this will be in friendly local game stores. I know it is being distributed, so it could show up, but I would probably recommend, if you're interested in checking this game out, visit that web address. I would say that's your best bet. So Indigo Dragon is mentioning that Tunnels and Trolls was the second published RPG after D&D. Yes, I knew that. In fact, I talked about that when we did our first look at Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls. Also mentioned Rick Loomis is the person who coined the phrase role-playing game. It was not TSR, wasn't Gary Gygax. Gary Gygax. My gosh. I don't know if you hear this, but Pinky's down here tonight. She just came down a few minutes ago. Yeah, see, now she's kind of caterwauling there, but you may not. This mic is pretty good at not picking stuff up that's like a few feet away or more. But she's carrying on, and she's been fed and everything else. I don't know what the deal is with her, so... Anyway, yes, Rick Loomis coined the phrase role-playing game. Not Gary Gygax, not Dave Arneson. Nobody from TSR did that. So I always thought that was kind of interesting. Speaking of role-playing games, I'm going to share with you what's coming in July from Paizo Inc. for Pathfinder and Starfinder. You know, this usually does take a bit of time. So if you've got absolutely no interest in what's going on with them, go make a sandwich or finish up dinner or go grab yourself an adult beverage. Go walk around the block if you'd like. JP Falconer has joined us as well. Before I jump into the Paizo news, I should probably point out that those of you who have bought me coffee or soda because you like what we do here at the Gaming Gang, thank you very much. I do have a paypal.me/the Gaming Gang page. So if you like it, pop in, check it out. So far, Flaming Huron, the Madman, JP Falconer, Honor, I should say. I just say JPF normally, as well as John Bogle have all shown their support for the Gaming Gang. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, so let's jump on in, because first off, we've got Pathfinder Adventure Path number 169, Kindled Magic, is part one of Strength of Thousands, a brand new adventure path. The Strength of Thousands adventure path begins a magic school like no other. The oldest and most prestigious magic academy in the world is Magambia, an ancient institution founded by the greatest wizard the world has ever known, Jeff McAleer. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, maybe not. This wizard vanished long ago, but his sinister enemies plot against his school and those who attend it. Over their long academic career, the heroes rise from humble students to become teachers, and they ultimately hold the fate of the school in their hands. Graduates of the Magambia are among the greatest wardens of the world, but if the heroes can't marshal the strength of thousands who have come before them, the venerable Magambia might fall. There's a couple of A's. That's why I'm kind of stretching it on out. The Strength of Thousands Adventure Path is a 6-part monthly series of connected adventures that comprise a complete Pathfinder campaign. School's in session. The newest students at the venerable Magambia School of Magic must begin their academic careers with tests of their skill and resourcefulness. The heroes can learn much from their teachers and fellow students, but must beware of mysterious secrets and sinister plots. The rigors facing any Magambia students are steep, and the heroes must also contend with strange infestations and supernatural intruders in the school's ancient halls. Education is far from easy at the oldest and most prestigious magic academy in the world. Kindled Magic is a Pathfinder adventure for 4 first-level characters by Alexandria Bustian and Eleanor Farron. This adventure begins the Strength of Thousands adventure path, a 6-part monthly campaign in which the heroes rise from students to teachers and ultimately decide the fate of the Magambia. This adventure also details other students to become friends or rivals, rules to gain extra lore throughout a year of academic study, as well as new monsters and new spells, including lore about the prestigious, you guessed it, Magambia. This softcover will carry an MSRP of $24.99. Then we get Pathfinder Secrets of Magic. Discover the untold potential of magic. Secrets of Magic, the newest hardcover rulebook for the Pathfinder role-playing game. Secrets of Magic brings the popular Magus and Summoner classes into Pathfinder 2nd Edition, unlocking heroes who combine magical might with martial prowess and offering command of a powerful magical companion creature. The lavishly illustrated 256-page rulebook contains hundreds of new spells with potent offerings for all spellcasting character classes, magic items for any player character, and lore detailing the fundamental structure and theories of magic. A special section within the volume, the Book of Unlimited Magic, presents new methods of spellcasting with elementalism, geomancy, shadow magic, rune magic, and even pervasive magic to give every place and creature in your game a magical spin. This 256-page hardcover will carry an MSRP of $49.95. We also had the Pathfinder Flip Mat, Bigger Island. We're going to need a bigger island. What mysteries await on the strange island on the horizon, or the mysterious destination of the intriguing treasure map? No game master wants to put the action on pause to draw every twist in the coastline or intriguing feature on an uncharted isle. Fortunately, you don't have to. This line of gaming maps provides ready-to-use and captivatingly detailed fantasy set pieces for the busy game master. Whether the heroes find themselves marooned on a remote shore, oh, you're such a maroon, or sought the island out to track down a fabled treasure, this double-sided combat map features 2 different islands for you to use at your table. Don't waste your time sketching when you could be playing. With Pathfinder Flip Mat Bigger Island, you'll be ready next time your players make landfall. Pathfinder Flip Mat Bigger Island measures 27 by 39 inches, which gives you 45% more gaming space than the standard Pathfinder Flip Mat. On tabletops across the world, the Flip Mat revolution is changing the way players run their fantasy role-playing games. Why take the time to sketch out ugly scenery on a smudgy plastic mat when dynamic encounters and easy cleanup is just a flip away? This carries an MSRP of $19.99. Finally, the last major Pathfinder release for July is the Pathfinder Flip Tiles Fortress Starter Set. Next time your players are ready to explore a towering castle or imposing fortress, they won't have to wait for you to draw every wall and door in the complex. Pathfinder Flip Tiles Fortress Starter Set provides beautifully illustrated 6-inch by 6-inch map tiles that can be used to construct a sprawling fortification full of places for defenders to make their last stand. Inside, you'll find 42 richly crafted double-sided map tiles and 6 tab dividers to keep them organized. This starter set is only the first step. Flip Tiles expansion sets allow you to expand your fortress both in size and with nearly endless variety. So stop your sketching and start your flipping today. This will carry an MSRP of $34.99. Let's move on to the Starfinder major releases, because we have Starfinder Junker's Delight. The first standalone adventure for the Starfinder role-playing game is here. Centuries ago, the Stellar Flare, a science vessel researching the strange dimension known as the Drift, crashed on the surface of Akatron, or I should say Akaton. Now, Vari 13, an android with a claim to the Stellar Flame, wants to find the wreck and rescue its valuable research. But Vari 13 will need help, and that's where your heroes come in. The Stellar Flare's remains lie in the middle of an enormous junk field filled with malfunctioning technology, inhabited by predatory creatures, and fought over by territorial space goblins. There are whispers of an enormous robot made entirely of junk that wanders the scrapyards, immune to magic, and eager to destroy everything in its path. Or maybe that's just a myth. I doubt it, because he's like right on the cover of the book. Can your heroes broker a peace, reach the wreckage, and defend it against an army of scavengers? Junker's Delight is a complete Starfinder adventure for first-level characters written by Jason Keeley and Misha Bushyeager. It features strange new alien creatures, new spells and equipment, and an in-depth look at Kafak Depot, a rough-and-tumble Akatonian settlement home to countless adventures. Still carry an MSRP of $22.99. We have Starfinder Pawns, Fly Free or Die Pawn Collection. Key aliens and NPCs from the Fly Free or Die adventure path come alive on your tabletop with the Fly Free or Die Pawn Collection, featuring more than 100 creature pawns for use with the Starfinder role-playing game or any tabletop science fantasy role-playing game. Printed on sturdy cardstock, each pawn presents a beautiful full-color image of an alien, NPC, or starship from the Fly Free or Die campaign, including EJ Core bounty hunters, the Golden League's Zun assassins, rival starships and their crews, and dozens of unique creatures. The Fly Free or Die Pawn Collection, together with the creatures and characters from the Starfinder Alien Archive Pawn Box and Starfinder Core Rulebook Pawn Collection, provides pawns for nearly every Fly Free or Die encounter. Each cardstock pawn slots into a size-appropriate plastic base from the Alien Archive Pawn Box or Starfinder Pawns base assortment, making the pawns easy to mix with traditional metal or plastic miniatures. The pawn set will carry an MSRP of $24.99. Finally, the last major release is the Starfinder Flip Mat Forest Moon. Whether the heroes are exploring the world-spanning woodlands of a living planet or racing endercycles between giant trees in a dangerous high-speed chase, no game master wants to spend time drawing every tree trunk and forest trail. Fortunately, with Paizo's latest Starfinder Flip Mat, you don't have to. This line of gaming mats provides ready-to-use science fantasy set pieces for the busy game master. This double-sided map features winding paths through a dense wood on one side and the massive trunks of an old-growth primeval forest on the other. Don't waste time sketching when you could be playing. With Starfinder Flip Mat Forest Moon, you'll be ready the next time your players go for a walk in the woods. This will carry an MSRP of $14.99. So there you have all the major releases from Paizo Inc. for Pathfinder and Starfinder that are slotted in for July. Usually we do see our Pathfinder and Starfinder releases later in the month. It's usually late in the month that they will come out. There are also some other releases. It's just, I don't talk about them because what they are, they're essentially the kind of like Pathfinder Adventure Society and Starfinder Adventure Society scenarios that have been being released rather than to your friendly local game store. They are digital files that you can get your hands on as well, because there are many game stores that are still not offering, in-person gaming, group gaming. So, all right. So there you have all the goodness coming for Starfinder and Pathfinder. Indigo Dragon says Starfinder is their favorite Paizo game. Gary Clarkson's with us in chat too. Good to see you, Gary. Thanks for swinging on in. I think I've said hello to everybody who is in chat with us. All right, my final news piece. In fact, let me grab a quick sip before I do my final news piece. I can't believe I went through all those releases without wetting my whistle there. Available from Four Color Studios is a new science fiction skirmish miniatures rules set. I've got the dope on Void Pirates. Void Pirates ply the spaceways and backwater worlds of the far millennium, seeking adventure and riches. This set of modified goal system rules allows you to build a small crew of bounty hunters, hardened spacers, intrepid explorers, galactic crusaders, or whatever your model collection allows. Play skirmish games with as few as 2 models per side and up to about 6 models per side. Detailed character creation and campaign rules allow you to create unique crew members and watch them change and grow as they survive desperate battles on the galactic fringes. All you need to play are a few figures, and they could be anywhere from 10 millimeter to 32 millimeter. Handful of six-sided dice, a metric measuring tape. Metric? Who's got that? Just about every measuring tape that you have. And a yearning to tell cool stories on the tabletop will get you started. You can score the 110-page PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $7.95. I thought I would share this because it seems like, especially if you are someone who is maybe getting into Stargrave from Osprey Games, this might make for a pretty good companion to that. Or if you're just looking for some quick skirmish rules for some small science fiction battles, this could be pretty nice. I wish I had something else to show outside of the cover itself. But as I mentioned, you can get Void Pirates over at DriveThruRPG. And of course, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, are affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to go visit, say, DriveThruRPG, by all means, please stop by at thegaminggang.com. First, click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you do happen to make a purchase, a little portion of that sale, all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. I've pointed it out time and time before that it usually pays for the hosting for the Gaming Gang website. And I do not have any old cheapo GoDaddy hosting. I shouldn't say anything bad about GoDaddy. I worked for them way back in the day when they were actually a very good company to work for when I lived out in Arizona. But yeah, my hosting's a little pricey. You can't have over 1 million unique visitors a year to your website and do it on, like $3 shared hosting. So thank you everybody out there who goes and visits the drive-through sites, or, Wargame Vault or Storyteller Vault or Dungeon Master's Guide, or I'm sorry, Guild Guide. Yeah. You visited the book. Always appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. We are going to be jumping in to take a look at Call of Cthulhu Horror on the Orient Express in just a moment. But first, did want to mention that if you are watching live, we're going to jump right on in. If you are watching after the fact, in fact, if you're watching about 12 hours after the stream ends, you are going to see a video ad. Just, do what you do, and we will be back and at it in just a few seconds. All right, so we are jumping on into Call of Cthulhu Horror on the Orient Express from Chaosium Inc. It is written by Jeff Gillen, Mark Morrison, Lynn Willis, and Divers Hands. I'm not sure what that is supposed to mean. I'm going to say maybe and friends. Artworks provided by Lee Gibbons, Lori Dietrich, Dean Engelhart, and Marco Morte. I think there's some other artists as well. Now, I pulled this from DriveThruRPG, and sometimes their credits are a little lacking. This 2-volume set clocks in at about 1,100 pages, and this is a 2-volume set. This is new. It's a new 2-volume set that is available from Chaosium, and it carries an MSRP of $89.99. You can get the PDF for $39.99. This is something I will point out. Let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I have Horror on the Orient Express that I have reshrink wrapped because I read through the whole book. So I'm just going to seem like really amazingly in tune with this as I look at it for the first time, because I already read it all and just reshrink wrapped it. Anyway, talking about the PDF, This is a situation where I do not recommend that you go to Drive-Thru RPG to get the PDF. And I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, if you just want to get the PDF, and you may want to get this 2-volume set later, Chaosium will actually deduct the cost of the PDF from the actual finished physical product. If you only want the PDF, if you get it from Chaosium's website, you'll pay $20 less than you would over at Drive-Thru RPG. That is very, very unusual. That is usually not the case. It's usually the same price. But I did notice that, so I'm pointing that out. First of all, 2 volumes, $89.99, like 1,100 pages. We're going to take a look to see if that's right, because that is also a number that's off of Drive-Thru RPG, and they can be off on that number too. But that is a smoking deal. That's an amazing deal. So just think, as far as I was just talking about the hardcover Magic book for Pathfinder, 256 pages, $49.95, which is now kind of our thing. Same thing with the latest release for 5e that I just did that first look video for. It clocked in around 250 some pages. It is a $50 book. It's $49.95, I think, is that one too. Smoking deal. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I am going to take the shrink wrap off, because I was going to read what's on the back, but there was a sticker kind of blocking that. All right, so first off, let's take a look at both the books. I think the back, is this a poster? Might be. I think we got a poster. We'll look at that last. I'll put that off to the side. I was going to say, I think the backs are the same. Right, so it says $44.99, $44.99 for each of the volumes. So here we have the new cover. This is on volume 1. So this is new artwork that was commissioned, I believe, for this edition. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. So Kevin says, he's asking, does anyone really buy tickets for the train on the cover? Not for this one. For this one. Because they're like, oh, wow, that looks like Batman's train. It's the Bat Train. This is the artwork, I believe, from the previous edition, which is on volume 2. So we have volume 1 is London to the Alps. Volume 2 is Italy to Constantinople. And we're going to dive in. That's why I wanted to get through the news as quickly as possible, because we are going to take a peek at this. We're not going to look at every single page, but I do want to give you an idea of what you can look forward to if you were picking this up. If you are a player and you're hoping that your keeper will run Horror on the Orient Express, I would probably recommend that you stop watching, because even though I'm going to avoid spoilers, and it has been years and years since I read the original edition of Horror on the Orient Express, we're going to see some things. We're going to encounter some things. I don't want to ruin your enjoyment. All right, so let's take a look at the back. Jesse says, shame they can't all be box sets, right? Yeah, the old box sets were great. Although, I got to be honest, they didn't hold up very well because the books were all just paper. They're just paper books. But yeah, I wish I still had my original Masum Nyarlathotep. I think it's over at Elliot Miller's house, my best friend Elliot, who I talk about in nearly every show, who used to be part of the gaming gang. I think it's, I got a lot of Call of Cthulhu stuff over by his house. All right, so volume 1, like I said, this information is it's the same. Man dies 3 times in one night. A puzzling headline brings a front page article found in the Times of London. 3 men, all identical in identification, were found dead in the same room of the Chelsea Arms Hotel. All were dispatched in a similar manner, stabbed through the heart. Then the home of a valued friend burns to the ground. severely injuring him in the process. An odd summons, a surreptitious meeting, and a 1,000-mile journey begins on the legendary rail service, carrying the investigators to Constantinople, the gateway of the Orient. Horror on the Orient Express contains a massive and legendary campaign of up to 19 adventures for the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Beginning in 1920s London, the investigators journey to Paris and thence to the ancient city of Constantinople. With luck, they also return home. Optional episodes are set in ancient times or special places: Roman era, Dark Ages, Gaslight era, and the Dreamlands. I thought one of them is during the French Revolution as well. We'll see, because we were just looking at Reign of Terror yesterday, which does kind of tie into this. You don't have to run this to run Reign of Terror, though. Also included is a modern-day coda to the storyline, an alternate ending for those wishing a shorter campaign, and a built-in survival guide to aid beleaguered investigators. All right, let's take a peek. Let's jump on in. Do want to mention that this is not updated for 7th edition. This is for 6th edition. So you are going to notice, presentation-wise, this is not going to be what we're used to seeing for 7th edition. This is what we see from 6th edition. Although we don't have the complete, I can tell right now looking at this, we're not looking at just that completely typical Chaosium font that I'm so sure that many of you are really used to if you have especially run Call of Cthulhu over the years. But this is actually the expanded edition that had come out not that long ago. I think this is, off the top of my head, I thought it was 2015. Let's see what it says here. Let's see if we can find it. All right, come on. Where's your copyright, guys? Oh, up here? Okay, so, well, this printed edition, of course, is 2020. Yeah, for some reason, I think maybe it's 2014. Anyway, loads and loads of information. So this is just the campaign book. So this is not even going into detail yet about the adventure. This is just giving the keeper background information about the era, travel during that era as well, some of the locations also. Now we're going to start getting into running the campaign. So I wonder if anybody out there would be busting out Hercule Poirot to be traveling on the Orient Express. I was famous for doing that. I don't do it so much anymore, but I tended to do like famous personalities would, my players would, their characters would stumble across famous personages of the day, because I had a lot of source books that I would use, which I no longer actually have, but I had a bunch of different like source books of that era. And it was pretty funny. I remember one time the player characters were traveling from New York to somewhere, I think it might have been Chicago, by train, and they just happened to be on the train that the New York Yankees car was attached to. I think it was 2 cars they used to travel on, and they ended up drinking throughout the night with a bunch of the New York Yankees players, including Babe Ruth. So, all right. So we're just getting into the adventure here. So you notice one of the first things I'm seeing here is that I'm struck by, and like I said, it's now, of course, as soon as I start to say that, I was going to say, I noticed there's a lot of photography in this as opposed to line artwork. And then, of course, we do get some line artwork So Clint Gibson's popping in saying pretty much hi and bye. So very cool. So I guess Clint's in the middle of painting. So good to see you, Clint. Be sure to check the video out later on. Jesse says this campaign is on their GM bucket list. 100%. I'm curious in some of the changes. And of course, I will have a review of this, but it's going to be a while because it's a lot of pages. So I am a firm believer that there are, as a game master, and of course in Call of Cthulhu, those are referred to as keepers. There are certain role-playing campaigns that you must run at least once in your life. Masks of Nyarlathotep for Call of Cthulhu is certainly in that category for me. And of course, they do have a brand new edition that came out in a slipcase. I reviewed it, loved it, thought it was excellent. They cleaned up some of the things that people had some issues with, because sensibilities now are a little different than they were in the early 1980s, and really, really dug it. And just the presentation is amazing. It's all full color. So we've got a lot of different maps. So here are some of the things that I recall from, so we're through the Alps here. I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit. So we've got our stat blocks for the NPCs. All right, so this is something, let's jump back. Let's take a quick peek. So this is something it's kind of newer with Chaosium, is that they're putting all the stat blocks at the end, but not where the characters appear, which is something that they used to do a lot. I noticed they're kind of starting to get away from that. I got to be honest, I like when we get the stat block right in with what's going on in the adventure. So a lot of times with some of the older Call of Cthulhu adventures, you would actually have essentially duplication, not complete duplication, but a lot of duplication where we'd have some stat info about that NPC or creature or what have you right there in along with the text where you're first discovering that. And then at the end of either the adventure or the book or what have you. Now I see they're kind of getting away from that over the past few years. So we've got some handouts here as well. So what I recall from this, and I am not going to, like I said, I'm going to try to stay as spoiler-free as I possibly can. But some of the highlights that I recall with Horror on the Orient Express is the amount of actual historical information that is packed in the campaign, as well as the just and I'm wondering if we'll run across it in this book or the next book, that there was a lot of information about what was going on in the world during this campaign, because this campaign is supposed to, it has set dates for it. And you had all this different information about what would the players be reading in the newspapers. And of course, at this point in time, 1920s, most cities had umpteen newspapers, and those newspapers all had various different editions throughout the day, and everybody read the newspaper at least once a day, as opposed to now where people just get their little tidbits and little snippets of information online, or God forbid through like Twitter. But that was one of the aspects I thought was very, very cool. One thing that I recall that I wasn't a huge fan of was the premise of the campaign is that the player characters are looking to find these certain pieces of this item. And to me, that was kind of something that we had seen umpteen times. in not only Call of Cthulhu, but we had seen that umpteen times in other role-playing games as well. So we're getting some stats for some of the passengers. We've seen some of this artwork before. Wow. Like I said, there's just tons and tons of stuff. Brian Sweet has joined us in chat saying, if I ever can actually pull off one of these mega campaigns, I'll be torn on whether it be this or masks. If I may, once again, this is not a review. We're just looking through. If you tuned in a little late, I actually took these 2 books out of the shrink wrap. I have not read through this. It has been years. I read the first edition of this that came out last century. So I gotta say, Massaneer Lothatep is, in my opinion, a campaign that every gamer needs to play and every game master needs to run once. It is that good. It really is. And it ties together so well. It really does. All right. Just kind of zipping along. Let's skip through some of this. So we have keeper entries. Here we go. Now we're going to get into some of the keeper info here. So we've got calendars. We've got some reference maps. So we've got all our maps and that in one location here. Which originally, when this was a box set, was a separate booklet. There we go. There's the pieces of the item that they're looking to find to assemble. So we get some diagrams of the various different cars of the train. Here we go. Famous faces abroad. Well, that's pretty wild. So as I was just talking about how I always like to toss in some, famous personages who, the funny thing is, a lot of times my players had no idea who they were. As far as they knew, I mean, Babe Ruth, they knew who Babe Ruth was. But a lot of times it was just another NPC that they'd encounter. And there were times that they thought, maybe they're part of this story, or maybe they're a big bad we have to worry about. And here it was just, somebody famous at that time. Okay, so we've got information about various different passengers. I'm Biff Baxter. I'm an American movie star. Hello, Biff. Okay. All right, let's see what else we got. Let's skip through. Got a lot of, look at all these different passengers and notes that you would be able to be taking about them as well. All right, let's see what else. Looks like that's, my gosh, look at all the passengers. Those just the passengers from the first part? Guess so. I guess so. All right, and then we got an index, got another map here. And that is the first volume, London to the Alps. Then we have the second volume, Italy to Constantinople. Hop on in here. So I'm going to take a guess. We're probably going to jump right into the adventure since we already have the campaign book in the first. Boris has joined us once again. Good to see you, Boris. I have to ask, Brian Sweet, I think this might be a first-time visit for Brian because the name is not ringing a bell. I apologize if you've swung in umpteen times to watch the stream live. All right, so we're jumping in here. So now we're in Italy. Death in Venice. Of course, see, now I'm trying to remember. I think, if I remember correctly, there is like a major NPC in the adventure that the characters think is a patron, and they are not. They are not the big bad, though. They are not the major competition that the players have for the pieces of the, if I remember right, I think it's simulacrum. It's a human-sized simulacrum. Like I said, it has been a long time since I read this. We're talking decades, folks. But this has really, really been expanded. Right. So we've got some of the, this looked like this was in ancient Rome. Yep. As we know, we have some kind of like flashbacks that go on in this. So this is all modern day. Once again, looks like we've got a lot of photography once again instead of line artwork. So you've bought it at last. What is this, Dungeons and Dragons? Cool advertisement there. All right, zipping along here. So we got our handouts from that section. But as you can see, I will point out this is a linear adventure because it's the player characters traveling from point to point to point to point along the way from London through to Constantinople, with much of the trip taking place on the Orient Express, which wasn't known just as the Orient Express. It had a longer name, like the company who owned the line, or the city it starts off in. I forget. All right, zipping along through here. But as you can see, there is just tons in this. There is tons and tons in this book. Now, granted, about 100 pages or so of the first book was a lot of material about the passengers and taking notes on them and things like that. So we might see this not have that. I think this is all going to be the adventure, more of the adventure in here. All right, so getting to Constantinople, looks like that's where we're at here. I'm just kind of jumping through some pages as well. The history of Fenalik, the true history of Fenalik. By the skin of the teeth, wherein the investigators reach their last stop and find their betrayal and despair and the makings of ever deadlier puzzles. So where we see these little tracks here, I notice it looks like these are kind of options for the keeper. It looks like we have options to kind of change things up from what's written. So I know for sure that a lot has changed in this book from the first time it was published, the first edition of this. Because the first edition of this, I would say probably with all the various different booklets that came in the box set, maybe 250 pages, maybe. Where, of course, we see that page count is just completely blown away. So for an example here, it says, what if the investigators choose to fly? We see the railroad track kind of torn up. It's kind of funny. So we're getting into some of the NPCs here as well. So this is I just skipped ahead a bunch of pages, but it's Istanbul today, wherein the investigators face mysterious, gruesome murders, deadly echoes of the past, an insane plan to create a modern-day simulacrum. Huh. Now, I don't recall any kind of modern day kind of like epilogue adventure in the first edition. So we're going to kind of skip through this as well. Then we go into some non-player characters. I was going to say, I think these are Kickstarter backers. I had to say that I am super happy to see that Chaosium was able to shake themselves out of their malaise that they were in. There's some things that I know that are not necessarily public, but I mean, there was a point in time that Chaosium was kickstarting stuff and not delivering on it, and you know they had all this stuff overdue that people were waiting on, and it just was like, you know, Chaosium is one of my favorite companies in role-playing games since the beginning, since I got in the hobby. I picked up the boxed edition of Call of Cthulhu back when it came out in 81, 80, something like that, and never looked back. And I have run Call of Cthulhu ever since. It is my role-playing game of choice. And there was a point for a few years where Chaosium was barely staying afloat. So good to see that they are back on track. And they seem to be doing quite well. And I'm very happy to see that. All right. And that is the second volume here. So I can tell you right now, the 1,100 page count from Drive-Thru RPG is wrong. So this is even counting the index and everything here. We've got 384 pages. I'm going to take a guess. It's probably pretty close to the same as well here. Well, it's exactly the same. So it is 768 pages, not 1,100. Maybe it's 1,100 through Drive-Thru RPG because they have all the handouts and everything that are in these books as a separate book, maybe. Maybe that is it. That's taking a stab. All right, so we've got both Horror on the Orient Express, Volume 1, London to the Alps, and we have Volume 2, Italy to Constantinople. Of course, I will have a review of Horror on the Orient Express in the near future, and I will give away a PDF of Horror on the Orient Express that I will announce during that review. So remember, it's not going to be real soon because you just saw me take the shrink wrap off this 2-volume set. So Jesse says that they've got to say this is very chill and positive chat group. Thank you. We haven't really had to bust out the band hammer very often. I think we've done it twice. I've done it once, and that was when I first started doing this. And then recently, I think it was the Madman had to bust out the band hammer on somebody. But the rest of the time, everybody's pretty cool. Everybody's pretty laid back, having a good time. As I said, it's not rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Damn, it's weirdly dusty down here today in the Duct Tape Studios. Wow, zipped through that pretty damn quick. I thought for sure that was going to take a long time. Not as long as I thought. All right. One thing I did forget is the map. So let's go back. There's something else I want to do real quick. Where is it? I have things all over, like usual. All right, I got it. I've got it. Because I want to make a comparison for folks, too, if you are not real familiar with Call of Cthulhu. because it's what we've been streaming for an hour. So I was figuring hour 15 or so. So let's go back to the other camera. Okay, so here's the map, the fold up map that comes with this. So it's the routes of the Orient Express. That's it. Simply an Orient Express route, the Arlberg Orient Express, then the Orient Express, and then the Austin Orient Express. Because that's what I remember. There were different rail companies. So the Orient Express wasn't just a single rail line that ran through. So this is showing you all the various different paths here. Of course, there's London up top. Cool. Nice. This is paper, but it is treated. So I wanted to show you. Now, we took a peek at Reign of Terror last night. So I just want to give you an example of where Call of Cthulhu is at presentation-wise today. So the Chaosium books that now come out look like this. All full color. The page stock, the paper stock is a little bit thinner, but it is also got a bit of treatment to it. That's why you see a bit of glare, which is like most of the role-playing games out there. So I just want to show, like I said, all full color. We were taking a peek at this last night. And once again, this does have a bit of a tie-in to Horror on the Orient Express. Once again, I have not started reading this yet. I am in the middle of reading Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, so I can do my review of that before that hits stores. So I am in the midst of working on that. So Flaming Heron says, with great power comes great responsibility for the madman, because the madman was like, bam! Drop that band hammer down. So Kevin says, wow, not even an hour. I know. And the funny thing is, and of course, every time I do the Paizo news, I know it's going to be long. Even without stopping for a sip or anything like that, it's usually like at least 10 minutes. So when we wrapped up the news, the stream was about a half hour old. I was like, wow, really? Here I only did 3 news pieces. I thought we were going to zip through the news so we could do the page through, because I thought the page through was going to take quite a while. It took about as long as the news to go through 768 pages, something like that. So still, even though it's not full color and it's not, it's still kind of that 6th edition Call of Cthulhu look to it. It's very updated and expanded from previous editions of Horror on the Orient Express. Michael O'Brien, who is one of my contacts that I talked to over at Chaosium, had said that they won't be doing a 7th edition Call of Cthulhu for Horror on the Orient Express for years. That they want to do it, but it is like way down the line on things that they want to do, because the difference between 6th edition and 7th edition isn't really huge mechanically. There's a few things they entered, rather than doing that, it's minus 25% on your percentile roll. Now they have the different difficulties. So yeah, that's different. The chase rules are different because we have chase rules. But I gotta be honest, some of that stuff I don't even use. I'm really not a big fan of the regular difficulty, hard, difficult, where you're doing a percentile of the skill. I still like just, all right, minus 20 off your roll, minus 20 off your chance. To me, I find that way easier. But 7th edition also has advantage and disadvantage. So they kind of, took that from 5e. So still a great system. I still love Call of Cthulhu. Anyway, but if you are holding back on picking up Horror on the Orient Express because you figure, another year or two, I'm sure Chaosium is going to come out with the 7th edition. No. Tain't happening, Dooley. Tain't happening. It'll be long time coming. So Kevin Smith says that, wasn't it 7th edition Call of Cthulhu, one of the Kickstarters they had trouble fulfilling? I think it took longer than they wanted it to take. And the changes that went on at Chaosium took place during that period. But I think the Kickstarter they really had a difficult time getting out was Horror on the Orient Express. I think that's the one that really took them a long time. If I remember correctly, and somebody can probably look this up, Horror on the Orient Express won an ENnie, I think, in 2017. Now, remember, the copyright on it is like 2014. So that just goes to show you how long it took. Now, I might be wrong, but for some reason, I could have swore that it won an ENnie in 2017, or at least this edition did win an ENnie. I know Reign of Terror won an ENnie in 2018. So, yeah, I'm a big fan. Call of Cthulhu. And if you are ever considering running a horror role-playing game, well, that's the one I recommend. So JPF said that they don't play role-playing games, but it was nice to check that book out. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. So that is it for this time out. Do want to mention no show tomorrow because it's my brother's birthday. We are celebrating his birthday tomorrow. So I will be back on Thursday. We are going to be taking a look at Call of Cthulhu, Does Love Forgive? What's love got to do with it? What? Tina. Anyway, we're going to take a look at Does Love Forgive? These are 2 adventures that are designed for one keeper, one player. So we're going to take a peek at this. So that is on the horizon. And I might break out a small third-party role-playing game that we're going to take a peek at as well, because this will only take, a few minutes to go through. It's not, I'd say it's like 32 pages, something like that. But this is one of the latest Call of Cthulhu releases as well. Just about 92 says 2 books enter, 1 book leave. So Sarah's pointing out to have fun celebrating my brother's birthday. Thank you. So very, very cool. Jesse, thanks for joining us. First time out here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Hopefully you're not a stranger and you come back. All right. Anyway, on Thursday, I'll tell you what's cooking next week. We will have more board gaming. We will have maybe a war game that we're going to take a look at as well. So we'll kind of go back to our usual forte. It's just I figured I was going to do 3 shows this week. I had 3 Call of Cthulhu releases to look at. So why not do a Call of Cthulhu week here on the Dispatch? If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch airs live, Monday through Thursday nights, right here on YouTube. Also tell you when I upload other videos, such as my review of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Death on the Reich from Cubicle 7 Entertainment, where I'm also giving away 2 copies of this adventure book in PDF. And you can check out my review to find out how you can win. I will be announcing the winners on the May 24th episode of the Dispatch. Also want to point out you can win this copy of the alternate art edition of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons from Wizards of the Coast. Check out my review to find out how you can get in the running to win this as well. I will be announcing the winner on the May 17th episode. So next Monday, I will share who's winning that copy of the alternate art edition. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, whatever day it happens to be. If you watch live, thank you very much. Always appreciate people taking some time out, keeping me company and chat. Although I do know a lot of people out there don't have an opportunity to watch live. Whenever you take time to take a peek, I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. And of course, I'll be back on Thursday. And as I wrap up all my videos during this never-ending pandemic, I hope each one of you out there is being smart, staying safe. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, if you haven't subscribed to the Gaming Gang channel yet, click right here. If you'd like to see the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, click right up there. And if you want to trust YouTube's algorithm to give you something to watch, click right there. Once again, thanks so much for watching. And everybody, please wear a mask.